We welcome you into week 3 of the Ken Sparks Show as Carson-Newman goes on the road and falls in its conference opener at Shuford Stadium to the Catawba Catawba Indians 40-20. I'm Adam Cavalier alongside Carson-Newman head football coach Ken Sparks. Ken, challenging conference opener against Catawba. Last season, the best statistical defense in the conference. You moved the ball on them, but just too many giveaways to overcome. 5 turnovers, 3 fumbles, 2 interceptions. What happened with ball security?
Well, I don't know, but I know this. It was a very disappointing performance, a disappointing result, of course. Anytime you lose your first conference game, and that puts you in a catch-up the rest of the year. And we were Santa Claus. We were the Santa Claus team Saturday, and we're just not a very good football team in places right now, but we'll get better. And all at once, we have no turnovers first 2 ball games, and now we turn it over 5 times, and one of them for a touchdown. And so, we got a lot of, we just made some big mistakes. Got another punt blocked, partially blocked, by just not getting the job done, one person, and we're back to that deal. We have been all year, but it's really, when you play against a better football team, it shows up. And Catawba not going to be the best football team we play offensively, but they were a good football team. And I don't know, I think we had 400 and something yards, and I had 317, and so we're getting better statistically, except we messed up on the big one, and that's, again, blocking, turning people loose offensively. And defensively missing some tackles, missing some alignments. So we're back to that 9 or 10 people getting the job done and 1 or 2 not, and that's what gets you beat.
It is and you lead me into it. It's the classical example of that phrase that I've heard you use over the years. One play can get you beat, and it certainly felt like this was an instance where somebody was out of position and something went wrong, and each time that happened, Catawba was ready to pounce on it. Yeah,
and they give them credit. They took advantage of our turnovers, and I think they got points every time out of our turnovers, and so except maybe the last one. And so we just we got coaches working as hard as and doing a great job, except for the head coach. We got a weakness at the head coaching position. I'm serious, and we've got to get that. I've got to get that picked up, or because we're not getting it done like we need to.
You look at this. You beat them in terms of total yards of offense. You outrush them. You outpass them. What positives do you take from the performance?
Well, I think the best thing is, even though it cost me a timeout to remind everybody, but I don't think we quit. I don't think we backed down on our effort, and we were still trying hard at the end of the ball game, and we got some immaturity and some youth in some places. And when I say immaturity, I mean it in a couple of ways. I mean in age, and I mean in the way we think. We got some guys that aren't as mature mentally as they need to be right now, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm encouraged with what I just got through saying, is that we had some guys that kept giving effort and kept trying, and right up until the end, we didn't back down. And then when it got to a 3-score game, then it made it a little bit tougher, but we still held them out of the end zone there once, and after that, and still moved the ball, even though we threw our second interception, and that was my call, and that was my mistake. And of course, when they're defending with 7 or 8 people, and it makes it harder to find grooves to throw it in, and so we just shot ourselves in the foot.
Carson-Newman falls at Catawba 40-20. When we come back, we'll take a look at the first half. That's when the Ken Sparks Show returns, right after this. Back on the Ken Sparks Show as Carson-Newman falls to the Catawba College Catawba Indians 40-20. I'm Adam Cavalier alongside Carson-Newman head football coach Ken Sparks. Ken, an early 10-7 lead for your Eagles, and you appeared to be, or pardon me, a tie game 7-7.
Right.
Appeared ready to add on to that, but then a pick six. How much did that change the complexion of the game?
Well, I think it shook our young team up a little bit. I think it shook our confidence offensively. It might have bothered us a little bit more than I think it should. But when you look like you're getting the ball 2 possessions, and your second one looks like you're going like you did the first one, go the length of the field and score, then it looks like it's going to be a good day for us offensively. And then when we throw the interception and take it back about 70 yards for a touchdown, then it seemed like, of course, the rest of the day we was playing catch up, and we never did get caught up. And then I think one side of the ball affected the other side of the ball. Once we're missing tackles like crazy again and can't stop them. And so, and that's, Catawba's not a great offensive football team. They're not. And so we gave them a lot of hope, and they ended up scoring 40 points, and I think they punted once, and so maybe they're better than I think they are. I hope we're not as bad as we look like we were.
You had the pick six, get the football back, go 3 and out, and have the punt blocked. If you don't have that punt blocked, do you feel things continue to sway in Catawba's favor?
Well, it certainly added to the fuel to their fire. There's no question about that. We went about an 8 or 10 minute section there where we weren't playing good at all, and we weren't producing on either side of the ball, and the kicking game was back to being mediocre again, and so kickoff return was very poor. We kicked 2 or 3 out of bounds on the kickoff, which gives them field position right off the bat, and we just were our own worst enemies. We just kept making the hole a little bit deeper for ourselves, and we had a hard time overcoming it. We didn't overcome it.
Carson-Newman down to Catawba 17-13 at the halftime break, and we'll take a look at the first half highlights.
12 from the Catawba 36 right hash. Suber takes, runs the option to the left side. Big hole for Suber. Lowers his shoulder, pulls over a man in the boundary left at the 22. Down goes Carpenter, and Suber knocked down inside the 20 at the 19-yard line. A 17-yard gain and a first down. Touchdown so far as Suber takes, option keeper, jukes a man at the 5, hustles left, and gets into the end zone. Touchdown, Carson-Newman! A 10-yard rush for Noah Suber to get into the end zone for the 3rd time on the ground this season, and the Eagles have the opening advantage, 6-0. After 5 minutes and 2 seconds. Sheehan in the gun, ball on the right hash at the Carson-Newman 6. 3rd and goal, play clock at 11. Smart to Sheehan's left in the gun. 3 wide to the wide side left. Handoff for Smart, heads up the middle of the field, and he bursts into the end zone. Touchdown, Catawba. A 6-yard score for Amon Smart as he rammed through a Carson-Newman defender at the line of scrimmage. Jones and Taylor the split back. Suber under center. Takes the snap, looks to throw. Does to the left sideline, and that's picked off. Read beautifully by Case Woodard. Rolling along the left sideline. Woodard. Suber can't catch him as he high steps through a tackle at the 30, and Woodard will race to the end zone. Touchdown, Catawba on a 90-yard interception return. As the Eagles were looking for a quick hitch at the 10. Catawba with the lead now, 13-10 with 10. So Wise on for a 27-yarder. Snap is down. Wise's kick dead through the middle of the uprights. And with 43 seconds left in the first half, Carson-Newman draws within 4. It's 17-13 Catawba.
Those are the first half highlights as Carson-Newman trailed Catawba 17-13 at the halftime break. Ken, it felt like a game where you could come back on Catawba, but ultimately just one too many turnovers in the second half.
Yeah, I think 3 straight times when we had the ball, we turned it over, we fumbled it. And, you like I say, we used to say if we get 3 turnovers, we're going to win a ball game. And we gave away 5. and and that doesn't include the pick for 6, and it doesn't include a partially blocked punt.
Mm-hmm.
So that you add those 2 on, that's 7, I guess, or close to it.
Yeah.
So ever how my math is there, and I think the thing hurtful in the first half too. We had 1st and goal on the 8-yard line twice, and kicked field goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so you exchange that 6 for 14, and we got a lead at halftime, and can get back kind of in the comfort zone a little bit as far as not feeling like we're got to catch up, that sort of thing. And so we're a tender football team that has to have some good things to happen at the right time, and right now, or at least Saturday, we didn't manufacture those things, and so consequently we got in trouble, and the head coach didn't help us enough to get that thing turned around and get it going the right direction. And I fussed, called time out to fuss one time, and I sounded like a normal coach. I was a negative coach. I was coaching from the negative. I was, instead of coaching from the inside, appealing to their hearts, which I was in a way, but ultimately, it was a typical world's way of coaching, and that's sorry. And I don't do that. And but I did Saturday at that one particular time, and so. I gotta come around a little bit.
Is that why you said earlier the head coach needs to do better? And you've said that after losses.
Yeah.
Before, but it feels like it's a little more real to you after this one.
Well, here I am in a lot of ways. Just trying to stay upright, and that's figuratively spoken, but and instead of really getting into kids' hearts and minds and really encouraging them and talking to them, I've been over trying to catch a breath and have enough energy to go, and so I'm into what? I'm into exactly the thing that we talk about all the time. I'm into meism, in a survival mode, and I've got to get out of that. I've got to find some way to get out of that. They need encouragement. We all do. All of us, every one of us need encouragement, and they need encouragement, and it needs to come from me, and I don't think I'm doing a very good job with that.
Carson-Newman falls at Catawba 40-20. We'll break down the second half when we return after this on the Ken Sparks Show. Back on the Ken Sparks Show as Carson-Newman falls to Catawba 40-20. I'm Adam Cavalier alongside Carson-Newman head football coach Ken Sparks. Ken, a place where you've been in a couple times, your last few playoff runs start off 1-2. Or 2-2 or something like that, with a couple losses in September, and then rally toward the end. What's the message to the team as you go forward from this point?
Well, everything's still out there, as far as we got 8 games left. And so a lot of things can happen in 8 weeks, but we've got to start doing our part. And we got to start getting better as a football team, and we got to get urgently better. And it's got to be a down deep deal with us that we're going to get 11 on the same page at the same time, so we can quit beating ourselves. And that's what we're doing right now. Saturday we beat ourselves, and so we've got to. And please, I'm not taking anything away from Catawba. Catawba's got a good football team, but we can play better than we're playing.
Carson-Newman falls to Catawba 40-20. We'll take a look at the second half highlights.
2nd and 5 for the Indians from the Carson-Newman 15. Play fake to Smart. Sheehan keeps it. He'll range his way over the middle of the field and sprint into the end zone between the hash marks. Touchdown Catawba. Sheehan with a shake and bake at the 5. And he'll scramble 15 yards for the score to give Catawba a 23-13 lead with 10:40 left in the third quarter. Shotgun snap. back chest tight. Handoff Goodwin right side, has a horde of blockers. Dashing down the right sideline goes Goodwin, and he will sprint into the end zone. Touchdown, Catawba. The first rushing play of the season. Longer than 20 yards for Catawba. This one a 30-yard haul that goes for 6. And the Indians in front 30-13 with 5:14 left in the third quarter. First and goal from the 2. Suber takes. Dive left side, Wimbush. Wimbush spins right and gets into the end zone. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. Antonio Wimbush from 2 yards away on the ground finds the end zone for the third time in his sophomore season. And the Eagles a PAT away from making this an 11-point game.
Those are the second half highlights as Carson-Newman falls to Catawba 40-20. When we come back, some good news and some good works. Our Eagle Spotlight on Dan Gallman. That's when we return after this. Back on the Ken Sparks Show, time now for our Eagle Spotlight. Each week, Michael Watrang shines it on one Carson-Newman Eagle, and this week it's a special one. Dan Gallman named to the AFCA All-State Good Works team, and we take a look at that.
On September 15th, Dan Gallman became the 6th Carson-Newman football player to be named to the All-State American Football Coaches Association Good Works team. No other Division II school has more selections than Carson-Newman. Gallman continues a tradition that started with an idea from the wife of offensive coordinator Mike Turner.
Several years ago, I told my husband that I would love for him to come in and read for the children. I said they need to see a grown man read, enjoying reading. I said, I'm not sure that all of them see this, in their homes. And he said, well, I'll do you one better. I'll bring you some football players in. And I said, yeah, just so they can know that real men read. And so when he handed me the schedule of the football players coming in, it was entitled Real Men Read. And that's what these young men are. They're real men, they're fine young men, and they're a great example for the community and for the children.
College students typically try to avoid 8 a.m. classes, but Gallman took the time to read to Mrs. Turner's 4th grade class and felt a sense of accomplishment when he walked out of the Jefferson Elementary School classroom. The senior offensive lineman sees a difference in the emotion between the football field and the community.
Football is a team sport. It revolves around the team. Even if you do your job, other people don't do their job, you don't win. So, that's a more feeling of wholeness and completion. And you still kind of get that sense when you're in the community. Like, let's say you go help, like, for example, I went to Mexico on a mission trip and I built a library with like 10 other people. That was 11 people, just like the same kind of concept, coming together and building that library. It was just a relieving accomplishment. Like, you guys all felt like you did something. So, they're pretty similar, just like football and volunteer work. But when you're doing it by yourself, as bad as it sounds, it's a little bit more achievement. You feel like you can directly see yourself make that impact and really make someone else's day a little bit better.
Gallman's service extends to the Jefferson City Food Bank, Manley Baptist Church, and the Garth Brooks Teammates for Kids Foundation. Mike Turner believes that having a senior taking on a leadership role in the community encourages other players to participate.
In our group, we do quite a few things within the community, and we're being called on, and sometimes we get a whole lot more requests than what we got time to do them with. But Dan and a few other guys are always the first guy up, and have been since he's been a freshman. And a lot of kids come into a college situation. Some have been blessed to have been fortunate enough to give back earlier in their careers. Some have never done that before. So Dan's always been one of those guys, the first on the spot, willing to take on whatever task we put, from moving people to serving food to carrying food out, all those kind of things. Dan's been very gracious in doing that.
Putting his service into perspective, the Naples, Florida native said that if he can teach one person something when he goes on a service project, it's been a great day. His football career will show stats, but the impression he's left on others will stick with him well into the future.
Football's great, but football's 4 years. It comes and goes. There's always new players. There's always new seasons. But with community service, there was one person I met 4 years ago. They're like, hey, do you remember me? I was like, no, I'm sorry. He's like, oh, you read to me once. And I was like, oh man, like, you still remember that? Like, people really remember those kinds of things. And football is great. I love it. Academics are great. but it comes and goes. And with those kind of things, like if I could just like have it stick to one kid, like, hey, don't fight with your brother, and they're like, okay, yeah, I'm never fighting with my brother again. That's a pretty amazing thing.
As one of the 25 members of the 2016 All-State AFCA Good Works team, Gallman will be invited to New Orleans to participate in a community project before the 2017 All-State Sugar Bowl, where the team will be recognized at halftime. For the Ken Sparks Show, I'm Michael Wattrang.
All right, thank you very much, Michael Wattrang. And Ken Sparks doesn't get much better than making the.
That's what it's all
Good
about
Works
right
team.
there,
Yeah.
isn't it? And it's not only a payback for him for all the investment that he's made personally and how much he's given to other people, but it reestablishes what we're supposed to be doing. You know, it's a perfect example of what we're supposed to be doing. You know, we're supposed to be giving of ourselves for the sake of others, and you know, and it's natural for Dan. You see him around a bunch of kids, you know, or like you know, the thing up at Manly Baptist Church where he goes up there and deals with people that are less fortunate physically or mentally, and to see him respond to them and to watch him relate to them and make their lives better. It's just fun to see a natural. I've never had to make Dan be helpful to somebody else, especially if it's a child or somebody that's maybe a little bit different.
Turn your attention now to a conference home opener against Mars Hill. One note on that, schedule change, that's a noon kickoff now. Instead of 1 p.m., a noon kickoff here at Berktar Stadium.
We need some people to show up, you know.
Need a crowd.
We need some people to show up because we moved it from 1 to 12 because Tennessee plays at 3:30 and we need to get some people here and in the stands so we can make a noise. We need to win a ball game. We need to play better than we're playing. And we need to grow as a football team. And so, come on, help us.
Glad you got the memo today.
Well, listen, if I'm going to be on your show, I need to do something to earn it. So I'm just glad that I was able to dress somewhat like you today.
Next time you got to get the gray pants instead of the navy.
I don't have expensive pants like that. You know, I'm just a football coach. I'm not a radio personality like you are. So I'm just a regular old guy.
Ken, thank you as always.
You're welcome.
That is Carson-Newman head football coach Ken Sparks. This has been the Ken Sparks Show. Be sure to join us Saturday at noon when the Eagles take on the Mars Hill Lions at Berktar Stadium. Once again, this has been the Ken Sparks Show. Thanks for watching.